Hi, guys, and welcome. My name is Alana Terry. I'm not seeing that this is live, but I'm going to go ahead and assume that it is. I am excited to be here. I'm excited to chat with you guys. I've been on videos in this group a few other times before talking about ads, and I'm so thrilled that Melissa invited me here to talk to you guys about just what's going on with this whole pandemic thing. This is absolutely a time for us as authors to do what we can to be encouraging each other, encouraging our readers, fostering virtual community. So really glad to be here. And again, I just hope that you guys are safe and healthy and doing what you can do to get through this time. It's hard for all of us, and that's why I think things like what we're doing right here in this group are so important to just remind us we are absolutely not alone. So, excuse me. I want to talk about three things that authors I feel really needs to hear and just keep in mind about what's going on right now. And the first one is going to sound a little weird, so let me say it and then let me explain it. The first thing that I really want to drive home today is that you do not have to do anything. Okay, so this is interesting, especially coming from me, very type A personality. I've got a book on productivity for authors. I've got a whole course on productivity for authors, but I want you guys to hear right now, you do not have to write. You do not have to market. You do not have to publish books. You do not have to email your newsletter. You do not have to post on social media. Some of those things are going to be great. Some of those things might even be recommended. But I think it's so important for us all to take a giant step back and realize you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to edit that manuscript. Basically, right now, what you have to do is keep yourself and your family sheltered and fed, and if at all possible, healthy and sane. Like, those are the only priorities right now, which, like I said, if you guys know me or have heard me before, you know this is going to sound weird coming from me because I'm very much like the productivity cheerleader and the ads cheerleader and the marketing cheerleader. Like, let's do this and this and this. But right now, it's totally fine to turn all of that off and just focus on getting through these next weeks or months, however long it is. There's no shame in that. People are throwing around things like, what a perfect time now to get that book written. And if you don't get that book written, it's not that you lacked time, it's that you lacked motivation. And I think that's a bunch of hogwash because stress is real, creative block is real, this pandemic is real, right? And I think a lot of writers are very in tune, kind of empathically. Some of us are going to be feeling this more than the general public, just the stress and the heaviness of this whole thing. And that is okay. The other thing that I want you to keep in mind, so point number one is you don't have to do anything. I'm not saying that, that's an excuse not to, but just remind yourself, you don't have to do any of that. Point number two that I want to remind you, and I even wrote it down so I don't forget, is that this is not the end of indie publishing. This is not the end of your career, and this is not the end of the world. One thing that I love, I'm actually a huge fan of historical fiction. And during this past month, more than any other, I have so much appreciated all of the historical fiction novels that I have read about people who are going through or who went through really, really, really hard times. And then most importantly, came out on the other side. So it sounds like a morbid fascination, but I went through a phase where I was reading tons of novels based on the siege of St. Petersburg. And let me tell you guys, like, we are not in something that is so unheard of that people have not gone through similar hardships in the past. And to be totally honest, if I was going to go through a life-changing, historically monumental event, I would so much rather it be a pandemic than a war. Like, I cannot stress that enough. And so again, that's also a reminder of how books can help encourage people through this time. Like, I'm drawing a lot on what I've learned from history to keep myself encouraged and inspired. And to be frank, like, most of what I've learned from history has come from reading novels, like, and not from textbooks or things like that, or from reading memoir. And so I just want to remind us all, the world is not ending. The human race is not ending, and your author career is not ending. I think one of the amazing things about being an indie author is that we are so, we can be so flexible, right? So if you think about one of the big name publishers, like I have no idea if it's now the big five or the big two or, you know, whatever it is, the big three quarters. Think about like the really big top names in publishers and how many books they have in their catalog and how long it would take them to switch from one format to another format, or even to just change the prices of their books or things like that. Whereas we can do those things in like a few clicks of a button. We are very resilient as indie authors. And then if you compare being an indie author to being other types of small business owners, we are also in an amazing situation. I'm sorry, Christian swear words for the win. I have no idea what that means, Melissa, but that caught my eye and got me distracted. So anyway, I was talking about something. Oh, comparing indie authors to other small businesses. We don't have brick and mortar stores that are closed. We don't have employees that we have had to let go. Like, these are amazing things to be thankful for. And again, to just remind ourselves, this is not the end of your writing career. People are turning to books. That doesn't mean that every single author's book sales doubled in the past few weeks. A lot of people took a hit. And if you think about your own buyer behavior, kind of makes sense, right? Like for the first couple weeks, a lot of people, our family included, was like, okay, we want toilet paper and rice and sanitizer. If it's not those three things or other staples, we're not going to spend our money on it because we don't know what's going on. But now we're kind of adjusting, right? The human race is amazingly resilient at making really abnormal things feel normal. And I really do feel like we're moving into the period now where this is kind of people's temporary new normal. People are going to be turning to books more so than ever. I very, very genuinely believe that. And I just want to encourage you. People have gone through really hard things before. Businesses have gone through hard things before. The human race has gone through hard things before. And you're going to get through this, and your books are going to help people get through this. That's the other thing that I think is so special. You know, when I think about what I was talking about before, how like I'm drawing a lot on these historical fiction novels that I read and realizing, hey, like I feel like I'm living in a novel right now. A lot of people have this kind of sense. And the books that we've written and the books that we will write are going to encourage people through times like this. And so that's super encouraging as well. The number 3 thing that I want to encourage you with is that you're not alone. It feels like you're alone. Some of you are like literally alone, and that you're not even isolated with family members, but you're not alone. We have amazing things like these videos, YouTube Live, Facebook Live, all of the social media. And this is a great time to remind your readers that they're not alone either. And so a really great question for you is, think about somebody that you absolutely admire. And I know it sounds weird to us, but in some people's minds, we as authors really are like celebrities to some people. So think about somebody that you admire kind of on that level, and think about what you would love to hear from them personally, right? So if your celebrity crush were to call you up and say like, hey girl, I hear you're struggling, here's a word of encouragement, like think what you would want from them, and you can offer that to your readers during this time. So I hope that did give you a tiny bit of encouragement. I hope that, like I said, you are feeling peace in as much as you can through this time. And if I want to leave you with anything, it's really to just let go of any guilt that you feel from the creative side of things, from the marketing side of things. Remind yourself, you know what, you don't have to do any of that. It's going to come back. You're not going to, if you're in this place where you're just too stressed out to write, don't feel like you're never going to pick up a pen again. Right now might be the time that you are just focusing on, again, staying healthy, staying sane, right? Literally, I'm not using that word flippantly. And the words are going to come back at just the right time, just when your readers need it, just when you need it. So just keep reminding yourself, you don't need to do anything. And this isn't the end of your writing. This isn't the end of your career. Definitely isn't the end of the world or the human race as we know it. And we are going to come out of this fine, and our books are going to help our readers come out of this fine, which is really just a neat picture to keep in mind. Just remember how important your books are right now. So stay safe and stay healthy. And again, thanks for letting me jump in here and chat with you for a little bit.